AITA for leaving my wife after catching her at a hotel with another man? I saw her enter the hotel at 3:14 in the afternoon. I was in a coffee shop on Rush Street waiting for a client who had canceled at the last minute. I was looking out the window, not thinking about anything in particular, when I recognized her. It was impossible not to recognize her. 10 years of marriage teach you to identify someone by the way they walk, by how they move their hands, by the tilt of their head. Jessica was walking towards the hotel entrance with the confidence of someone who has made that trip many times, and she wasn't alone. The man next to her was younger than me, maybe 32 or 33 years old, in a well-tailored suit, probably from some expensive store on the Magnificent Mile, with perfectly styled hair that requires products and time in front of the mirror. The kind of person you see on the covers of local business magazines or in ads for exclusive fitness clubs. They weren't touching in public, but the intimacy between them was obvious to anyone who knew how to look. The way he opened the hotel door for her with familiarity, the way she smiled with that smile I hadn't seen directed at me in months, the naturalness of their coordinated movements. This wasn't a first time, it was a routine. I sat motionless in my chair, my coffee getting cold in front of me. I didn't feel the emotional blow I expected. What I felt was something colder, more calculated. Professional curiosity. I took out my cell phone and took 3 discrete photos. Time, date, location, all documented automatically. Then I opened my laptop and started working. My name is Jacob Miller, and I am 42 years old. I am a forensic accountant, a certified public accountant specializing in fraud examination, and I hold a master's degree from Northwestern's Kellogg School of Management that I completed while working full-time. My job consists of finding financial irregularities, detecting corporate fraud, and following the money trail when someone tries to hide it behind complicated structures or suspicious transfers. I have worked on cases for banks, insurance companies, and even for the Department of Justice on money laundering investigations. I have uncovered frauds worth millions of dollars, and I have seen how seemingly honest people destroy entire lives out of greed. It is a job that requires extreme patience, obsessive attention to detail, and the ability to connect dots that others don't see. It also requires not getting carried away by emotions when you discover something unpleasant, because emotions cloud judgment, and clouded judgment lets evidence slip away. That afternoon in the coffee shop, all those skills activated automatically. My wife had just walked into a hotel with another man, and my professional brain took control while my emotional brain processed the shock in the background. I met Jessica 12 years ago at a business conference in Atlanta. She worked in human resources for a tech company. She was smart, ambitious, and had a smile that lit up any room. We got married 2 years later. The early years were good. We bought a condo in Lincoln Park, decorated it together, and built a life that seemed solid. I grew my accounting practice until I had my own firm with 7 employees. She climbed the ranks until she became the director of human resources, but something changed about a year ago. Jessica started working longer hours. Business trips that used to be occasional became frequent. Dinners with clients that dragged on until midnight. New clothes she never wore at home. A new boutique gym she went to religiously but never talked about. I noticed everything. It's what I do professionally, but I chose to say nothing. Part of me hoped I was wrong. Part of me didn't want to face what it would mean if I was right. And part of me, the professional part, wanted to have all the information before acting. That afternoon in the Gold Coast, I finally got the visual confirmation I needed. I waited 45 minutes in the coffee shop watching the hotel entrance. At 4:02, Jessica walked out alone. The man came out 12 minutes later, separated so as not to raise suspicions. Amateur, I thought. If they really wanted discretion, they wouldn't use the same hotel repeatedly, they wouldn't go in together, and they wouldn't leave so close together in time. But that gave me the advantage. Patterns are predictable. Patterns can be documented. That night, when Jessica got home at 8 with a story about a meeting that ran late, I listened carefully. I noticed the details that didn't add up, the little lies that piled up like evidence in a fraud case. "How was your day?" she asked me while pouring herself a glass of wine. "Quiet," I replied. "A client canceled, so I had time to work on some personal projects." I didn't mention what projects. She didn't ask. The next morning, I started my formal investigation. The first thing I did was check our joint finances. As a CPA, I have access to tools and databases that most people don't know about. In less than 2 hours, I had mapped every account, every card, and every investment in our name. What I found was revealing. Jessica had opened a personal savings account 8 months ago. The transfers were small at first, $200 here, $300 there. Amounts that wouldn't raise suspicions in our joint budget, but added up, they represented almost $10,000 diverted from our shared finances. There were also credit card expenses that I didn't recognize. Hotels in Lake Geneva and Saugatuck, expensive restaurants in neighborhoods where she supposedly didn't have work meetings, purchases in lingerie stores that I had never seen at home. The pattern was clear. She was funding a parallel life with our money, but I needed to know more about the man. I needed to understand what I was dealing with. I called my brother Mark, who works in corporate security. I explained the situation to him without getting into emotional details. I need information on someone, I told him. Everything you can find on public channels. It's for a case. It's personal. There was a pause. Mark knew Jessica. He had been at our wedding. Send me what you have. I sent him the photos I had taken at the coffee shop. 3 hours later, I had a complete profile. The man's name was Ryan Cole, 34 years old, a sales director at a software company. Divorced 2 years ago, no children. His ex-wife had left him for, according to divorce records, irresponsible financial behavior and lack of commitment. But the most interesting part was his finances. Ryan Cole had over $100,000 in debt, maxed out credit cards, an unpaid personal loan, and a car that was about to be repossessed. His lifestyle of expensive suits and luxury hotels was completely funded by credit he couldn't pay off, and now, apparently, it was also being funded by my wife. $100,000 in debt. $100,000. The guy with the expensive suits and perfect hair can't even pay for his own car, and Jessica is out there taking money from her marriage to fund his lifestyle. The irony was brutal. She was cheating on a CPA to support a man with a disastrous credit score. Basically, she was paying to be used. For the next 3 weeks, I documented everything. I tracked Jessica's movements without her knowing. I identified the pattern of their encounters. Tuesday and Thursday afternoons. Always the same hotel, always between 2 and 5 in the afternoon. Tuesdays usually lasted 2 hours. Thursdays sometimes extended until 6. I verified the hotel reservations using a contact in the hospitality industry, a client I had helped with an audit years prior and who owed me a favor. The rooms were always booked under the name of Ryan Cole, but invariably paid for with a credit card in Jessica Miller's name. She was literally paying for her own betrayal. The room cost $200 per use. Multiplied by the encounters I was able to document, we were talking about nearly $4,000 just in hotels over the last year. I also discovered something more disturbing. Jessica had consulted with a divorce lawyer 3 months ago, a firm in the Loop specializing in high-net-worth divorces, which in simple terms means helping a spouse keep as much of the shared assets as possible. The searches on her computer, which I had access to because we used the same home network and I managed the security as part of my professional paranoia, showed research on property division in Illinois, alimony for high-income spouses, how to protect assets before a divorce, and, interestingly, how to hide bank transfers. She had also looked for information about my properties, or rather, the properties she knew about. She had tried to figure out how much the firm was worth, how much money my business accounts held, what my estimated net worth was. She wasn't just having an affair. She was planning to leave me and was trying to make sure she kept as much as possible of what we had built together, or more precisely, of what I had built while she spent. What she didn't know was that I had taken similar precautions years ago, not out of suspicion towards her specifically, but because my job had taught me that the biggest frauds are committed by trusted people. My father had taught me something important when I started my career. Son, he told me once while we were reviewing cases together in his Chicago office, never put all your assets where someone else can reach them. Not out of mistrust, but out of prudence. I've seen 30-year marriages destroyed in a single day, and the one who wasn't prepared had everything taken away. I had followed his advice to the letter. I had investments exclusively in my name in accounts Jessica didn't know about, approximately $75,000 in mutual funds. I had 2 small rental condos in Wicker Park, registered under an LLC she had never seen mentioned. I had an account with a bank in Delaware opened during a project with foreign clients with almost $40,000 accumulated. It wasn't a fortune compared to what we shared, but it was enough to start over if the time came. And clearly, that time had come. The day I decided to act, Jessica announced she had a business trip to Dallas. "It's 3 days," she said while packing her suitcase. "A human resources conference. You know how these things are." "Sure," I replied. "Have a good trip." There was no conference in Dallas. I had already verified that. What there was a reservation at a boutique hotel under the name of Ryan Cole, paid for, of course, by Jessica. I waited for her to leave. Then I called my lawyer. "I need you to prepare a petition for dissolution of marriage," I told him. "And I need you to do it fast. There is documented infidelity. I have photos, hotel records, bank statements, everything you need." He paused. "Illinois is a no-fault state. You know that. But the financial part, if she used marital funds for the affair, we can file a dissipation claim. We can get that money back." "That's exactly what I want to do," I said. "And I would prefer she kept not knowing until the papers are ready." "Understood. Give me a week." While I waited, I did something I probably shouldn't have done. I contacted Ryan Cole's ex-wife. I found her through social media. Her name was Leah. She worked as a graphic designer and lived in River North. I sent her a brief message explaining who I was and why I wanted to talk. Her response arrived in less than an hour. "Call me. I have a lot to tell you." The conversation lasted 2 hours. Leah told me everything. How Ryan had convinced her he was the perfect man. How she had discovered that he used her money to support other women. How she had found evidence of at least 3 simultaneous relationships during their marriage. "He's a professional," she told me. "He finds women with good jobs, seduces them with attention and romance, and then uses them as ATMs while looking for his next target." Do you think Jessica knows? Probably not. I didn't know until it was too late. He is very good at what he does. I thanked her for the call. Now I had the whole picture. Jessica returned from her conference on Sunday night. She seemed relaxed, almost happy. She gave me a kiss on the cheek and told me about the sessions she had attended. I listened to her carefully, noting every lie, every fabricated detail. The ease with which she lied was almost impressive. "Everything okay at home?" she asked while pouring a glass of wine. "All quiet," I replied, "although there is something we need to talk about tomorrow." Her expression changed briefly, a shadow of concern that disappeared as fast as it appeared. "It's about our finances, some planning for next year. But it can wait until tomorrow." That night, I slept on the couch. I told her I had stayed up working late and didn't want to wake her. The reality was that I couldn't bear to be in the same bed with her knowing what I knew. The next morning, I waited for her at the dining table with breakfast served and a manila folder next to my plate. "What is that?" she asked, sitting down. "Open it." Jessica opened the folder and her face lost all color. Photos of her walking into the hotel with Ryan. Reservation records in his name, paid with her card. Bank statements showing transfers to her personal account. Screenshots of her searches about divorces. "Jacob, this isn't what it looks like." "It is exactly what it looks like. You've been having an affair for a year with a man in debt who is using you to pay his bills, and you've spent 3 months planning how to divorce me and keep most of our money." Tears began to fall down her cheeks, but they didn't move me. I had seen enough fraud cases to recognize crocodile tears. They were the same tears scammers used when I confronted them with irrefutable evidence. How? I'm a forensic accountant. Uncovering fraud is my job. Did you really think I wouldn't notice the $10,000 you siphoned off? The charges at hotels we never visited together? The searches on how to hide assets? Her expression changed from desperation to calculation. I could see the exact moment she stopped acting and started thinking about how to salvage what she could. "We can talk about this. We can fix it. I made a mistake, but 10 years together have to mean something." They meant something until you started planning how to take my money while in an inappropriate relationship with another man. That tends to change things. It's not your money. It's our money. Money that you transferred to a personal account without my knowledge to then use to fund your lover's lifestyle. In legal terms, that is called dissipation of marital assets. I pulled another document from the folder and placed it in front of her. "This is a settlement offer, along with the divorce petition. You can sign this today and this ends in a civilized manner. Or you can refuse and we go to court, where I will present all this evidence along with a formal claim for the $10,000 you dissipated from our joint accounts. You can't do this. I already did. The decision left for you is whether you want it to be easy or hard. She looked at the papers for a long moment. Then she looked at me, searching for some sign of weakness, some opening to negotiate. I need time to think about it. You have 48 hours. After that, my lawyers will file the petition without your cooperation. And Ryan. The question surprised me. I expected threats, negotiations, maybe more tears. I didn't expect her to ask about him. What about him? Are you going to do something? I don't need to do anything. Ryan has over $100,000 in debt and no way to pay it. When you stop funding him, reality will catch up with him on its own. He loves me. I almost laughed. He loves your credit card. I talked to his ex-wife. She told me everything about his pattern of looking for women with good jobs to exploit them. You are the third or fourth one I know of. There are probably more. Her face contorted upon hearing this. Apparently, the illusion of being special was the last thing she had left. That's not true. Look into it yourself. You have access to the same data I do. Run a credit check, look up public records, ask his ex-girlfriends. You'll find exactly what I found. I got up from the table. 48 hours. After that, this gets much more complicated for you. The divorce was finalized 2 months later. Jessica eventually signed the papers 36 hours after my ultimatum, after her lawyer explained that the evidence I had was devastating. The high-net-worth specialist she had hired recommended she accept the offered settlement instead of risking a legal battle she would lose. She kept her car, a Honda Accord that was in her name. She kept her personal belongings, her clothes, her jewelry, and her furniture. She kept half of our joint savings account, minus the $10,000 she had siphoned off, which left her with roughly $20,000. The condo was sold for $650,000, and we divided the $300,000 of equity according to what each had contributed. I had paid 70%, so I kept $210,000. She never knew about my other investments, she never asked, and I never mentioned them. Her lawyer tried to investigate, but the LLC was well structured and didn't appear in any registry linked to my personal name. Some things are better left unsaid. And Ryan Cole, from what I heard later through mutual acquaintances, Jessica confronted him when she discovered the truth about his debts and his history with other women. Apparently, the relationship didn't survive even 2 weeks after our divorce was final. Without Jessica's cash flow, Ryan quickly lost interest. 6 months later, I saw on social media that he had a new girlfriend, another professional woman, this time a lawyer from Dallas. The cycle continued. Jessica moved to Milwaukee to start over. Sometimes I get news about her through friends we kept in common. Apparently, she is doing fine working for another company, rebuilding her life. I hold no grudges. Holding grudges requires energy that I prefer to use on other things. Now I live in a condo in Wicker Park, near the park itself. It is smaller than the previous one, but it has more light, more life, and more character. I wake up every morning without the feeling that something is wrong, without the tension of knowing that the person I live with is plotting against me. I spend my weekends working on interesting cases that I choose, not that I need. I have dinner with friends on Fridays. I work out at an unpretentious gym on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and I read in the park on Sunday mornings. It's a simple life, but it's an honest one. Sometimes I think about that day in the coffee shop when I saw her walking into the hotel. I wonder what would have happened if I hadn't been there, if the client hadn't canceled, if I had chosen another coffee shop. She probably would have continued with her plan for months longer, prepared her exit better, and taken everything she could get her hands on. But I was there and I saw it all. The name on the reservation wasn't mine, but the consequences certainly were hers. Comment. Thinking about this story always brings me back to the importance of self-respect. Sometimes, the kindest thing you can do for yourself is to draw a clear line. We can't control what others do, but we always have a choice in how we respond. Choosing a quiet, honest life over a loud, chaotic one is a victory in itself. Healing isn't about forgetting. It is about learning what you truly deserve. Remember to be as kind to yourself as you would be to a friend going through a tough time. The hardest moments can teach us the most about our inner strength. It is all about rebuilding with integrity and creating a future you can be proud of. Your peace is worth protecting, and you have the power to do it. I hope this gives you something positive to think about on your own journey. If you liked it, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.